I know. It's been long overdue since I give y'all an update about my life. So I'm just gonna jump right into what's been going on. So it is April 2nd, and I have basically 4 months left here in Belgium. I am heading back to the US in July, and it's crazy to think that I have lived here for a year. Insane. I am starting my Ph.D. program in the biomedical sciences at the University of Michigan in September. So my plan is to go home, spend about a month and a half at home, and then drive back up to Michigan and get ready to start my doctoral program. So yeah, that will likely be another video. I've been super busy, so I don't even remember the last time I updated y'all, so I'm just going to talk about like what comes to my head. So I had the honor of being selected to represent Fulbright Belgium at the Fulbright EU NATO conference, which is a week-long conference where you learn about the European Union, you learn about NATO, and 1 to 2 grantees from each country in the EU is selected to represent their respective Fulbright commissions. So I got to meet Fulbrighters from all over the EU and connect with them. And honestly, like, I should have done a video immediately after the conference or during the conference, but that was hands down one of the best experiences of my life. I met so many amazing people who were just so inspiring and encouraging, and just, it was brilliant, and I can't even articulate like what that conference did to me, especially seeing women there who were married, had families, and some of them had their fiancés or husbands who were still in the States, and we had like really meaningful conversations about like, you know, the right partner for you will support your endeavors and your ambitions, and how it was difficult for them to be doing this temporary long distance, but you know, they had the full support of their spouses, which was just like, oh, gosh, you know, because I feel like we put these constraints on like what we can do at what time, at what phase in our lives. And here I just met people, you know, younger than me, older than me, much older than me, whatever, and they were just following their passion. So that was really cool. Met people doing really amazing work. So a lot of people working with refugees in the EU, someone studying breast cancer mortality rates in Romania and comparing it to the standard of care in Ireland, because they're like the gold standard for reducing mortality rates linked to breast cancer. Met people studying, I'm forgetting the name of this, memorialization in Germany, so studying how people build Holocaust memorials, kind of the politics behind that, and then she's interested in kind of translating that to memorialization of Black history, for example, in the US. And so she talked about how, I think, I don't even want to say the city. I want to say I think it's Munich, but I could be wrong. But she said it's like one of the most conservative cities in Germany, and was saying how like these like little gold pebbles. I'm not even going to try. No, you know what? I'm going to try. There are like these little gold pebbles you'll see throughout the streets in like certain cities in Germany to like represent Holocaust victims. And you have like far right groups and far left groups that don't want memorialization for opposite reasons, you know, so people who are connected to the Holocaust victims feel a certain kind of way because they don't want people who weren't affected by the atrocities to be building these memorials. So like if you think of the US, it's like, you know, people kind of like glorify, romanticize plantation, you know, memorials and things like that. And then you have the far right extremists or whatever who obviously don't want to memorialize Holocaust victims. So she gave the example of how the outcome, they both wanted the same outcome but for very different reasons. So I just thought that was really interesting, just kind of thinking about like how do you honor victims and who does the honor, right? Doing amazing work, really interesting stuff. Met other scientists there, so that was cool. It was really inspiring for me because it just showed me that like, just inspired me to kind of pursue another avenue of trying to, you know, help the world. So I'm like, whether that's policy or like law or I don't know, It was cool. My roommate was a lawyer, so she also did some like refugee immigration work, like fighting on behalf of the good guys, and said it's a lot of work, super challenging. I met a guy who has a nonprofit that's meant to help build wealth in Black communities in Memphis. So he told me how like a lot of the I think Memphis. I'm like, please let me just throw out these disclaimers, because this is not my background, and some of the information that I say may not be correct, but I'm just trying to recall the gist of their work. But he's saying that Memphis is predominantly Black, and the majority of revenue generated from businesses do not come from people of color, even though the city is predominantly composed of people of color. And so his nonprofit is to help people of color build their own wealth, generate their wealth consistently. There were 3 Black people at the conference out of 20 plus or so grantees. But it was just refreshing to kind of have allies who, care about issues that affect people like me, or affect refugees, or affect whoever. So that's the E-NATO conference. Awesome. That was back in February. I gave my first lab meeting also in February. We also had our Midyear meeting also in February. So this might turn into a long video, because I'm about to update y'all on my month of February. So Midyear meeting was dope. All the grantees got together and kind of just provided like a mid-year update about how their grants were going and things like that. And so I actually discussed a platform, which I haven't told y'all about, called Fulbright Noir. Follow the Instagram page at Fulbright Noir. And I started this page just to highlight the experiences of Black Fulbrighters abroad, because I remember when I won the grant, when I was getting ready to move abroad, the first thing I did was look for Black people. I'm pretty sure I like Googled like Black women Fulbrighters, or like Black Fulbrighters in Europe, or something like that. And so as I started meeting and making friends through social media and however I make friends, I was like, yo, we should highlight like what we do. Like, we're pretty dope. And I met Sunita, and I met Desiree. Sunita's a Fulbrighter in France and a Ph.D. Candidate in sociology at the University of Pennsylvania. Her YouTube channel is Scholar Noir. Desiree's a Fulbright ETA in Spain, as you see in my previous videos. So after meeting them, and I met Liz through Instagram. She's a Fulbrighter in New Zealand, who is now going to be at Columbia doing a PhD in sociology. Like, after just like hearing their stories and their backgrounds, I was like, yo, this is so cool. We should like put this all on a single platform for people to just, if someone just needs a dose of inspiration, or just wants to see like where the Black people are at, that would be a start. So I presented on that. And then our program director was, really happy and enthusiastic about the initiative, and encouraged me to write a proposal for funding for a Fulbright Noir. And so I had about 2 days to put that together, and with the help with some mentors and the help with Desiree and Hannah, who's an ETA here in Brussels, we were able to write a pretty solid proposal that is kind of now going through different channels and different avenues through Fulbright. But ideally, we want to have a conference that is for Fulbright grantees of the African diaspora based in the EU, to address some of the unique challenges that we face as people of color, as Black people, especially within the context of the EU, to help us be even better cultural ambassadors. There are certain things that we're going to go through that other Fulbrighters will not experience, because they're not Black, because they're not of the African diaspora. And so I think it would be very beneficial to not only have this conference to provide a support network, but also to provide the training to help us navigate those challenges. And that's in the work. That's like a watered down version of the proposal. But so that was that. And then right after that, I had my lab meeting. So it was my first lab meeting where I had to basically present all of my data from July. Like, I hadn't given a formal presentation about my results. And I got some really exciting news, which I haven't shared with y'all, but I've basically kind of like fulfilled my Fulbright, what I proposed in my Fulbright project. So I was able to figure out, so recap, studying this protein that is involved in protecting bacteria against antibiotics. We're interested in this research because antibiotic resistance is a major global threat. Bacteria are rapidly able to adapt and kind of outcompete our ability to develop drugs that target them. So this protein is a potential target, something we would like to shut down that would then render bacteria ineffective in evading antibiotic treatments. And so I think I found the key for how this protein is activated. I think I found the key for its substrate, and so it's time crunch because I'm leaving in July, and I need to kind of wrap things up, but knock on wood, but it's by force. We're gonna write a paper and submit the data that I've gathered over the past year. So that's been awesome, and I'm super happy about that, super excited. About a week ago I had some disappointing news because the results that I had, that would have been probably the foundation of the paper, I was having trouble reproducing them, and so I tried a different approach and found another way to activate the protein. So that replicate is currently incubating in the lab right now, so tomorrow I will have that data, but I'm confident that it's reproducible. And it was kind of like my last, okay, this is the last thing I'm going to try, and then we need to move on to the next thing. So it worked, so yay. So lab meeting, I was presenting. It went well. It was good. It went really well. I was really stressed because it was just February. It was just back to back to back to back. It was a conference. It was a midyear meeting. It was a proposal, the surprise proposal. Hey girl, write a little something. I was like, no, I'm not writing a little something. I'm gonna write a formal proposal, because if this is gonna be seen by Fulbright directors and executives, no, this has to be clean. And then my lab meeting. But it all went well. And, I was hesitating if I was going to share this, but you know what? I'm going to share it because I'm keeping it 100 with y'all, okay? I met the love of my life.